This is such a distressing story. The father of a teenager who took her own life after being cyberbullied, bullied online, wants online safety laws toughened up to help protect other children.
Mia Janin's parents had no idea she was being targeted on social media by fellow pupils at her school. Her father, Mariano, has now joined forces with the father of Molly Russell. Now, Molly took her own life after being exposed to graphic content on social media. We're
going to be talking to both of them in just a second about the changes that they really want to see. But first, here's Fran Lanuri with Mia's story, and we start with some of her final voice notes.
Tomorrow's going to be a rough day. Stand by me. I'm taking deep breaths in and out.
I'm currently mentally preparing myself to get bullied tomorrow.
Well, Mia's father, Mariano Janin, and Molly's father, Ian Russell, join us now in a partnership you never, ever would have wanted to have to make. We salute your bravery. I mean, honestly, Mariano, I don't know how you can sit here and it's so hard for you. I know you've shared those voice notes with us, so you have listened to them, obviously, but even, you know, listening to them now, you've got to steel yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
How much did you know, as Mia's dad, about what she was going through?
Well, I didn't knew it at the time. She was... we spent together the last lockdown. She was full of plans. Start with drama again, cheerleading, going holidays in Greece. She was okay. I didn't know about her online life at all.
Did you suspect anything? I mean, looking back, were there any signs at all? What you said?
Problem is, it was we have two lockdowns. That's the 2020 and 2021. So she was not at school, and the first lockdown, I just has a memory right now, like the best time that we have together, because it was, I can say now, a good lockdown. We spent time together. It was springtime, sunny, but I didn't suspect that she was having such a relentless bullying.
Well, that's the word for it. It was relentless and it was humiliating.
Yes,
It was disgusting, actually, some of the stuff that was being posted about her. It was she was being specifically targeted for God knows what reason.
On the street, on the bus, online. Yeah.
So how did you actually find out what had been going on?
We found out after this tragedy.
Yes.
Start to get information from peers, friends. And that's how we found
Gradually came out.
And so she had been spoken about on group chats, videos that she'd made had been shared on group chats, criticised.
Yeah, we saw some videos the night before. She used to have a group of friends, not from the school, and just a few friends from school, that they left the school after Mia passed away. But I didn't know that she was
in such distress.
Yes,
I mean, because the tone of her voice in that last voice note to her friend, she was so scared of being bullied. It was having, obviously, an absolutely devastating effect on her. And this is all about, this isn't material that she was looking at online. These are group chats, shared messages. She knows that there's a group who are just very personally humiliating and criticising her. And for some reason, she can't talk about it with you. What advice would you give to other parents who might be worried about their child being bullied in this way?
Well, I think it's difficult to understand what they are. The problem that they have at this time, because they are very reserved about the internet.
Yes.
What I really think is, and it will sound like a change of subject, we need to get a proper legislation and in order to avoid online bullying. And
Has anything happened to the bullies concerned?
No, nothing.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
Do you have any sense that they feel regret about what they did?
I don't think so.
Shame?
Nobody... I didn't have the opportunity to talk with any of them or the parents.
So they've got away with it scot-free?
Even the school, yes, exactly.
Scot-free.
Yeah.
The difference, of course, here, what happened to your daughter, Ian, was that your daughter wasn't specifically targeted, but she was looking at material which clearly affected her psychology and all the rest of it. So it's a different side to the same coin, isn't it?
It is.
Except I would say Molly got bullied by the algorithm.
Well, I was going to say exactly that. It's just, as well as heartbreaking, it's terrifying to hear what happened to Mia and how she was ganged up against and how badly it affected her. But essentially that's what happened to Molly, except it was the algorithms of the platform recommending ever more harmful content for her to see. So what's important, and it's an obvious call saying that there should be legislation, and I think it's down to the Online Safety Act and the enactment of that act. Now it's a law, Ofcom are consulting as we speak, and there'll be a process where secondary legislation, I'm not even quite sure what that means, there'll be further legislation that is incorporated into that act. And on May the 8th of this year, the protections for children will be, a consultation will be started by Ofcom. And what's really important is that they move as boldly as they can and as quickly as they can to introduce the sort of protections against bullying that Mariano is calling.
Can you, with your expert knowledge on this now, can you explain to us what's going on in this groupthink amongst these young men, and for example, in this case, who relentlessly band together to post the most disgusting material and appalling material, which is they will know as intelligent young men is going to be incredibly destructive to the person they're targeting, the girl they're targeting. What's going on there? What's happening?
I think it's really hard for most of us to comprehend what that might be about. But I guess if you think across the decades, there's always been bullying. It's a part of I don't know, the human condition.
And a pack mentality.
A pack mentality. But that bullying, I think, is being amplified. As the algorithms can amplify harmful content, the mechanisms of digital technology can amplify the way in which bullies can band together.
Do you think perhaps they think it kind of doesn't count because it's not real?
Maybe there's that. I can remember in the early days of email that the people would send what they thought was a very reasonable email, but they realised they hadn't realised it could be misread, and there were some office arguments that were created. Yeah. And that sort of remote connection might add to that. But it just enables people to get together.
Would the threat of punishment be a deterrent?
The threat of punishment would always be a deterrent, and I think it's not just... We all need to think about this. The platforms need to think about how they might make their technology safer. Schools need to think about how they might make their places of study safer. Parents need to think about how they might protect children. We need to always constantly be thinking about what we can all do to make the digital world safer. So you mean in terms of the platforms, that they would develop a sensitivity to certain trigger images and trigger words that would flag up? They can do that now if they wanted. They do have some, it's called hashing, where they can identify problem images, for example. They do have some hashing technologies that can prevent harmful content being shared. I don't know that they're using them to the full extent. I don't think they're fulfilling that potential properly.
Ian, in your experience, what advice do you give to parents? Because, you know, I've got 3 children who are now, you know, becoming young adults, and there is so much material that they can access online that I will never, ever know about. And, of course, I come from a generation where if you spoke to someone, you spoke to them on the phone, and the phone was probably in the hallway, and everybody in the house could hear what you were saying. What do we do? What do we spot? How do we help?
It's really hard, but I think the most important thing is to somehow keep a dialogue going, parents to children, between the generations, and be open about it.
Yes.
But it's really hard because it's at that teenage stage, the children are quite naturally pulling themselves away from their parents and becoming individuals. So I think it's particularly hard. But
yeah, no, it's transmission of values like we have in our young age, and being behind the screen, it doesn't mean that you are not visible.
No, of course not.
Also, if you have any doubts, if you have any concerns, it's really important to talk about them and be brave.
Well, you say if you have any doubts, but you had no suspicions at all.
At all.
So just supposing my daughter, who's now in her mid-30s, supposing she was 15, would you recommend that when I went home tonight, this very day, I sit her down and say, look, I did an item on the programme today, or I saw an item on Good Morning Britain today, and I described it. Chloe, tell me, are you going through anything like that? Do you think that would be something that would be worth doing?
Yeah, I would say that it's always worth having a conversation about all of our lives online, and if parents share their experiences online with their children and make that normal...
What I mean is originate the discussion rather than waiting for a tell or a sign that you may never spot.
Yeah, but they're teenagers, Richard. This is part of the problem. Do you know what I would do? If we were inventing mobile phones now, the internet, I just wouldn't let anyone under 16 have one. I just think they are exposed to so much damaging stuff. I just, you know, rather like Brianna Jai's mum, who would like mobile phones just to be, you know, communication devices where you can call and maybe text, but you just can't get any other social media apps on it.
I totally agree with you. It's like allowing 13-year-olds to drive a car, isn't it?
The problem is the technology is going faster than what we can accept.
Runaway, yeah.
Now we have artificial intelligence as well. This is a new thing that we will need to deal in the next few years.
And deep fakes.
And deep fakes, exactly. So it's... I don't think banning the phone, I think we need education, we need a legal frame, maybe, yes.
The technology is here.
Yeah.
And when we talk about things like this, we talk about the harms it can bring. It's really important to remember how good digital technology is and how much we all use it. I don't think banning is the answer.
No, I
globally.
think it's too late to ban it.
It's too late to ban it.
But if we were developing it now, I wish that we'd introduce that measure.
I think it is down to legislation and to governments to put pressure on platforms so that the platforms start behaving in a very different way from the way that they have.
Well, you're two remarkable individuals, and you both speaking out in the wake of what has happened to you is powerful, and I hope helps other parents.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, I wish you didn't have to be here talking about it.
Thank you for...
Well, for me, the takeaway
having
here...
us here.
No, thank you for being
opportunity to...
No, of course. For me, the takeaway here is that you may have no suspicions at all. You may think to yourself, there's not a problem with my daughter or my son. No, but you could be wrong, and you have to check.
We communicate in a different way than our teenagers. It's a different way of communicating.
Yes, you're quite right.
Try to call your daughter, she will never take the call.
No.
Text her, and she will answer back.
In her own time.
That right.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lots of love to you both as well. Thank you. If you have been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.